Community-oriented policing is a complex philosophy. It does not imply that police are no longer the authority or that their main duty is not law enforcement. Instead, it presumes that tapping into the expertise and resources of community members can ease some of the common challenges police face. There are three main components of successful community-oriented policing programs: community partnership, problem solving, and enhanced organizational features. When law enforcement makes each of these components a top priority, a community can grow stronger and crime and disorder will decrease. The main goal of the first component, community partnership, is mutual trust among community members and police officers. Citizens must view the police as allies, not adversaries. Cooperation within the community is vital, so police must take steps to become an integral part of the community culture. For example, they should work with social agencies, speak to neighborhood groups, participate in business and civic events, and play a role in educational and recreational programs. Community partnership requires officers to go above and beyond the standard law enforcement role and recognize the value of non-traditional activities that contribute to the well-being of a community. These activities vary depending on the demographics of the neighborhood, but may include helping victims, providing medical and social services, resolving disputes, controlling traffic, enhancing public properties, and acting as role models. While these behaviors are important for building trust, it is equally important for officers to refrain from activities which are likely to cause distrust and resentment in citizens. These actions include detachment, rudeness, and the use of unnecessary force. In addition, officers should model positive behaviors while off duty. With actions stressing community partnership, trust is developed between police and citizens. This trust enables greater community contact, which leads to increased communication. This process becomes a cycle as increased communication enhances trust and community partnerships grow stronger. The establishment and maintenance of community partnership will require different approaches in different communities, but the key is for police to become enduring facilitators of community cohesion. The second component of community-oriented policing is problem solving. Problem solving is a broad term referring to the application of appropriate resources to correct or improve conditions which contribute to disorder and crime. The theory of problem solving implies that underlying conditions create problems, leading to crime. These conditions might include the characteristics of people involved, the social setting in which they interact, or the physical environment. For example, if community members are uneducated, it can be difficult for them to find work, which could lead to theft or drug trafficking. Theoretically, if the community can provide educational resources and training, these crimes could be eliminated. Determining the underlying conditions causing crime in a community requires in-depth knowledge of community characteristics. Therefore, problem-solving efforts are more likely to be successful when community members participate in problem identification. Police must actively seek input from citizens to help identify problems and their underlying causes. Cooperative problem solving reinforces trust and encourages the exchange of information between citizens and law enforcement, leading to continued problem identification and solution. Problem solving may mean eliminating the problem entirely, reducing the number of times the problem occurs, or reducing the degree of injury per incident. Solutions may be long-term or short-term and may involve the entire community or only a portion of the population. Types of solutions are only limited by the creativity and perseverance of those involved. The best solutions are those that satisfy community members, improve safety, reduce disorder, and strengthen ties between citizens and police. One simple example of a community problem is common nighttime muggings at neighborhood parks. To employ community-oriented problem solving, officers should speak to community residents to solicit advice as to possible contributing factors. Imagine they discover that many of these parks have poor lighting, and muggings take place in locations obstructed from the street by trees or bushes. By promoting an initiative to add lights and clean up landscaping, law enforcement may find they can reduce the number of muggings while reinforcing cooperative ties within the community. The third component of effective community-oriented policing is enhanced organizational features. The philosophy of community-oriented policing must be supported by the infrastructure of the police department. For community partnerships and problem solving to be successful, improvements must be meaningful and enduring. Management must be flexible and serve to guide rather than control the actions of individual officers. Command should no longer be centralized and should encourage a cooperative approach to making decisions. Recruitment, hiring, and training should incorporate community-focused ideals such as creative thinking and proactive communication. Once hired and trained, officers must have appropriate authority to make necessary decisions. Therefore, departments often shift towards long-term assignments, in which officers can execute impactful resolutions with less official oversight. When the system in which they work encourages officers to create real change in their neighborhoods, they become more driven to develop the necessary partnerships and find solutions to key problems. Additionally, resources must be allocated to partnership and problem-solving efforts. Officers must have the tools needed to accomplish community-oriented goals and should be provided funds, materials, and staff necessary to make community improvements. Technology can also play a central role in enhancing infrastructure and should be used to keep officers and community members connected and informed.
Community-oriented policing plan would consist of having community members come into the police department, sit down and have a meeting, discuss what they feel is going on in the community, what direction we're moving in. If there's any problems, they can address those, and then the police department can respond and saying we can incorporate neighborhood watch, IdentiKid, which is the fingerprinting of kids for identification if they're kidnapped or lost or run away. You also have your HOA groups that get involved by putting on special regulations in the subdivisions that are enforceable. You have National Night Out, which gets the community or the city surrounding areas involved, and you bring them in and explain crime prevention as far as, make sure your car doors are locked, make sure your garage doors shut at night, alternate different lights if you leave for the day or the weekend. Then again, they address issues that they see in their subdivision or in their part of the community as far as, is the crime rate going up? What can we do to help you? Well, you have, there's a terminology called COPS, Citizens on Patrol. You can incorporate that where they go out and patrol around the neighborhoods, patrol around the cities. If they see something, instead of taking police action, they notify the police department through dispatch and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. Can you send an officer over here to check it out? So that's pretty much community-oriented policing.
Effective community-oriented policing depends on increasing positive contact between officers and community members. This should be a responsibility of all officers at all levels.
An officer's role in community-oriented policing is getting to know the city, the beat, the district that they're patrolling. For instance, if you're patrolling a certain area of the city on a daily basis, you get to know who lives where, what types of vehicles are supposed to be in a certain place, you see a vehicle that you've not seen before. Do I need to keep an eye on it? Do I need to make contact with it? Or do I leave the area and come back and see if it's still there? What's going on? Not only that, it gives them a chance to get to know citizens by handling different calls, stopping by, see somebody outside. Hey, how's it going? How's everything going in the neighborhood? Is there anything we can help you with? As far as that goes, get to know the little kids. Give them stickers, pencils, pens, coloring books. Let them know that you are there to help them.
There are some officers who are more likely to play a primary role in community-oriented policing. These include patrol officers, school resource officers, neighborhood service officers, crime prevention officers, and public information officers. Not all of these types of officers exist in every department. Every department has a unique structure, and types of officers in each department will depend on factors including size, programs, and available resources. Patrol officers tend to have extensive contact with community members and typically provide the bulk of daily policing needs in a community. Therefore, the policies and procedures used by patrol officers can have a significant impact on community-oriented policing. The community for which a patrol officer is given responsibility should be a small, well-defined neighborhood with unique characteristics. They should work these same neighborhoods, often called beats, in regular shifts so they become familiar to community members. Increasing police presence is an initial step to establish trust and reduce fear in communities. Automobile patrols are most common, but these can be supplemented with foot, bicycle, and horseback patrols. In addition, adding mini police stations and satellite offices in neighborhoods can make police more visible and help make connections with community members. School resource officers work in educational settings. In addition to performing traditional law enforcement duties, they work to establish and maintain a close partnership with school administrators to provide for a safe learning environment. They attend and participate in school functions to build working relationships with faculty, staff, students, and parents. By increasing the visibility and accessibility of police within the school community, they prevent juvenile delinquency, deter criminal activities, and act as positive role models. Neighborhood service officers perform a variety of functions to proactively keep order in their communities. Common tasks may include code enforcement, traffic and crowd control, park security, animal control, and parking enforcement. They make themselves available to community members who may be in need of assistance and investigate and respond to neighborhood concerns and complaints. In addition, they often act as a connection between community members and city personnel, such as court officials and public agency representatives. Crime prevention officers develop and implement crime prevention and community relations programs. These programs may include neighborhood watch, environmental design, and crime and safety education. They write program policies and educational aids and maintain crime statistics and reports, requiring significant contact between community leaders and members. In some departments, responsibilities may also include fundraising and public relation efforts. Public information officers are responsible for disseminating information to the general public, media, and community agencies and organizations. They act as spokespeople for the police department and respond to requests for interviews and information. Therefore, they must be visible and accessible to community members. Additional functions include researching, writing, and editing news materials, pamphlets, and some marketing materials. All officers involved in community-oriented policing must have the skills necessary for any policing career, including communication skills, problem-solving skills, and physical fitness. In addition, community-oriented officers should be particularly compassionate, collaborative, and resourceful. They should be good listeners who demonstrate integrity and respectful assertiveness. After community-oriented officers are in a place and a community-oriented policing strategy has been implemented, it's important to assess the success of officers, programs, and tactics. Evaluation can be a valuable tool for facilitating improvement and can help emphasize priorities to employees and community members. Programs and tactics should be examined to determine if effectiveness is due to design, implementation, or both. Assessment may consider the impact of efforts through quantitative measures like crime statistics, or it may assess programs qualitatively through tools such as interviews with officers and citizens. Regardless, evaluation should employ proper research methods, and data should be collected as systematically as possible. If community-oriented policing is implemented effectively, it prevents crime, enhances public trust in law enforcement, and gives citizens more control. Although programs and tactics vary and may involve a wide variety of strategies, the most successful focus on building partnerships among community members and police officers, identifying and solving community problems, and enhancing police departmental structures and features. All involved parties must contribute to these efforts. When police and citizens work together, community-oriented policing can provide an inspiring new approach to community order and safety.